Hi. So we were going to pick up where we left off last time we did the video, when you had a light bulb moment.
Mm-hmm.
Do you want to remind us what the light bulb moment?
Yeah, we're talking about how compliant I am and how people become compliant and mixed in with trust and that joint relationship that we end up conforming and doing things that are not what we don't want to or that we don't like or whatever. And it reminded me of about how at school I didn't want to go to school. I didn't want to leave the house. I didn't want to go and be left somewhere without my mum or dad. It was the same like with Sunday school and things like that. I didn't want to. I didn't want to go to like brownies or ballet or whatever things that like my sister went to. And I can just remember, and it comes about. I think it links in with trust and compliance and just doing as you're told by people who you think are better. Because I can remember clearly being in the school playground when I was, so it was infant school, so it's like less than 7, and being dragged from my mum, screaming. I was crying that I didn't want to go by the teacher. Everybody had gone inside and the playground was empty, and it was just me clinging to my mum and her dragging me off. But also my mum not wanting me to go because she thought I was starting school too soon, and she just could see how upset I was. My mum not wanting me to go, but my mum being upset, but complying herself and letting the teacher do that. And I can remember my mum will say, yeah, she walked home in tears. I were in there in tears, but yet we did as we were told and we complied that you have to go to school. And it just had me thinking about that, about not just how I complied, but how I saw the adults around me complying to other adults, and that kind of hierarchy about we're all children who don't want to get told off and do the right thing, sort of thing.
What you've said as well is that, you know, um, within that compliance is what you learned from that experience, what happened to you, that this other person that's dragging you off your mum um, is also a compliant person.
Mm.
So when you go to school, the teachers or the prison guards are compliant to somebody else who they deem important.
Mm.
So when you said that, somebody that's more important than I am or that's more professional, you said that I think they are. You got to grab hold of that thought and say, I think that they're better than me,
Mm.
but is my thought correct? Why are they better than me? No, they're not. They're as compliant as you are because they're complying with somebody else. So teachers are just people who've learned to comply with something. They will teach you something because somebody else told them it,
Mm.
or it's in a book, so somebody else told them it. So you're right that adults are running around in children running around in adults' bodies. And as I've said before, the children are adults running around in children's bodies because they have to
Mm.
contend and try and survive the insanity of the child that's in the
Mm.
adult's body. The other part to it is what you learn is that no one's going to rescue you. No one taught you that in that moment that the teacher isn't better than you or your mum. Somebody also taught you not that you have to be compliant because nobody's going to help you in a situation like that.
Mm.
Because the person that you deem as your helper was your mum. Well, you saw your mum's reaction that she can't do anything either. So who's going to save you? Nobody. No one's going to save you from this teacher pulling you away from your mum. Your mum can't even save you. So what do you think's in your mind then? When you get older, or when you have got older and potentially have had a child, which is not going to happen because that's because of your upbringing, it's been taken away from you because of the abuse you've suffered. Then no, if you're more likely to do the same to your child,
Mm.
because you won't have the tools then to say, well, don't drag my child off of me. What are we doing to this child? Why are we both doing this to this child? And so one of the, when you see the world, that how it's made up is that if you want to control human beings, when they began this, is how I explained to you earlier, is that there are families that started, less people, and then around the world there's families who orchestrate. Well, we're just cattle; they're just going to be our cattle, and they're going to work for us. So how can we keep them in a mindset that works for us? Well, we think that we're getting more and more intelligent, we're learning more and more. We don't learn more and more, we learn less and less. The more that we learn is the more to be compliant. We're not learning about ourselves and human beings, we're learning about how to be compliant cattle. And that's what we do. We're compliant cattle. That when I see a horse with something in its mouth, how uncomfortable it would be, that animal just reminds me that it's a slave. It reminds me of slavery, when you'd see people with things around the neck and in the mouths. And that hasn't changed. And that was normalized then, as we normalize putting things around animals' necks, the things that we do, that we're just taught that kind of thing, that evil, and we normalize evil. We normalize abuse. We normalize all those things, as I've spoke about before. So these people that are controlling the things, over here in America, they've got the money. So we've got the money over here. Okay, China, we've got the goods. We'll sell the goods and we'll trade. We've got the oil over here. So what are the fights about? Well, I want to be part of the game. No, you're not going to be part of this game that we're playing. No, well, I want to be part of that game that you're playing. So you own that, and then you all trade, and then you all have your cattle that work for you. So at the beginning, when people were in jobs, they didn't want to. Well, I want to go further, because we all want to develop within ourselves. I want to earn more than that. You've made up these numbers, and I want to get more numbers than that. So what can I do? Well, if you start your own business and you start, say you're writing a contract, as you go along in your business, you start to add to your contract, because you start to learn more. Oh, yeah, well, they're all turning up when they want, so we're going to have to put a time now in the contract. You need to turn up at this time, have your lunch at that time. Okay, and then you continue your work. Oh, well, somebody's done something else I don't like, so now that's going to be added to the contract. So now we'll put this in the contract, and then that's going to be, and you sign the contract and you agree to it. So contracts have to be learned as you develop. So that's how things were developed. So then how can you get people to, well, you just pay that all the time, so I'm going to go work for that fella over there because he gives slightly more for that. Oh, well, what can we do? How can we learn from this? I know what we'll do. We'll make up a fake ladder. And if we make up this fake ladder, people will think they're going to get richer and richer, because everybody now, because they're just so obsessed with this thing, that they're going to think with money, that they're going to think they're going to get richer and richer. So you're going to start here, you get the basic wage, but you know what? You can get a bit richer if you and you'll feel better. You'll feel good enough, because you're on the ladder to good enough now. So now oh wow, I'm a supervisor. Oh, that's amazing. So you're going to pay me an extra whatever to be so. Yeah, that's what we're going to do. Feel a bit better. Yeah, I can go. Everybody, I've got promoted. I'm a supervisor. Wow, another step up the ladder. You're doing great. And he can be, oh, what can I be then? I can be a manager. I'm near to manager. I've done jump through all these hoops, and now I'm going to be, it's just so we can keep you here. We want to keep you here, and then everybody's now got this tier, this made up ladder to make you think that you're going to get richer and richer. This were always the cap. We just lowered the price. We can make up numbers. We can lower the price. So
but it's still all about compliance, isn't it?
And it's about compliance and doing as you're told. And you're trying to find the path to freedom. But ultimately, in the beginning of time, when they started to orchestrate how they could control people and get them to do what they want, because the Jesuits said, "Show me the boy aged 7, I'll show you the man," is they already knew about the mind. They already knew about how it works. They already knew about our patterns, because they were very intelligent then. So the deviants then wanted something else. So they wanted, well, I want to control you. I want you as my slave. So I'm going to pretend that you've got freedom by telling you these stories of your doorway to freedom, but you're not really going to have it. You're always going to be my slave in this pretending game, because that's my manifestation. And so I can stop you from manifesting. I'm going to take you so far outside of yourself. You're never going to want to go in there and have a look, because I'm going to poison your mind that when you actually sit quiet out of this big, busy world, you're not going to like what you hear, because you're going to hear what's in this busy world. So I'm going to poison your mind. I'm going to poison you with nasty films, with killings, with all of that. So you can think about all of that. You can think about all the nasty conversations. Or I'm just going to program you to be nasty and evil. That's what I'm going to do. And I'm going to control you with these made up stories and defile. And that's where good and evil came from. So we became evil. So how are you controlled? By, well, the biggest thing to control people is by making numbers up. So we'll make numbers up. So we'll invent numbers, number 1, number 2, number 3, and we'll do all that. And so how many things do you know in your life that rule you by numbers?
Ones that stick out in my head, that's ruled me all my adult life. Calories.
There you go.
Calories in, calories out, calories burnt, calories eaten.
How many steps on your machine?
Yeah.
Numbers. How much have I done?
Yeah.
Yeah. What else
how many calories I've eaten? How many calories is in this? How many calories in that?
Yeah.
And it's
all
like
made up.
I've lived my life by
numbers.
Those numbers.
Yeah.
Weight.
When you go for a blood test, what do you get?
Numbers.
Get numbers. Yeah.
Comparing you to an average.
Yeah.
What somebody's made up.
Yeah. Because it's all made up. Because there's, so it's that numbers change as well. So now the normal changes, because the normal have to change. So years ago, before we had obesity, the numbers would have been this level. Do you see what I mean? So your insulin level would have been at this level. But now we've got obesity. Now it's like, what are the normal numbers at this level? And then the numbers of your size. Now you're the average size. Before the average size was lower. So now we're going to change it, because we're going to be this level, because we need it to be this level. So people will feel all right about eating more calories, and the more calories in the junk food, in the chemicals that you eat. So now we'll just normalize it. So everything about numbers now has a made up story. It has a made up story, and we have a judgment. So now we have these made up stories. So you have a look and say, is there anything in my life that's not run by numbers? How much money you've got in the bank? Yeah. How much do you get paid?
Yeah.
Yeah. How much do you weigh? Your wage and your age. And there's always a story around it, and everything is a judgment. So you can feel like a failure, and so you can feel crap about yourself. So you end up chasing numbers.
That's so when I'm thinking about myself, it's calories, weight, calories, all calories, how much you've eaten. It's about dress size. It's about number of qualifications, how much you earn, how much you've got in the bank, how many hours you've exercised, how many classes as you done
when
a
you
week.
Get to this age, you're a bit over the hill. So this age you have to eat this, and at this age you're going to deteriorate, and at this age you're going to do that. And is it true? It's only true because our brains get hijacked. Show me the boy age 7 and I'll show you the man. So if I hijack you with a made up story and you believe it, you're going to manifest it, because we are born manifestors. That's why we have a mind to daydream. And it's my mind, and my mind gets hijacked with everything that somebody else puts in. That's why it's called a TV program. And these are programs that program our mind. And so we believe the things that suit us because of the environment that we grew up
I was just thinking, it was making me laugh, because some of how important to me the numbers have been in the past, and to a degree still are. How much importance I put on them, but yet they're so fickle. Because if there were a time, sort of like, and it was like I had to do with the exercise addiction, I had to do so many classes, be in the gym on a machine, not just in the gym, but actually on the machine to the second for so many minutes, for so many hours, and this, that, and other. And all hell would break loose internally and externally if that was going to be threatened or couldn't be able to do, like if I was delayed at work, or as if somebody was off sick and they weren't doing the class. It's like, what do you mean the class has been cancelled? And it's like, I've got to do like so many hours in the gym a week and this, that, and other. But it was fickle in that I put so much store in them for years and lived by them and lived by the anxiety of not being able to do them and ticking those tick boxes off. But yet they were that fickle that they could just change, as in when I injured myself and I couldn't go to the gym, it was like, right, I'm just swapping them and I've got to like walk for so many miles or so many whatever a day, and it's just like, it's just stopped. Whereas 24 hours ago I couldn't have contemplated being without them, but now because I physically can't do them, I've got to change, and I've got to walk 20 miles every morning, get up at so many minutes past 6, time another number to be governed by, and be burnt so many calories by 12 o'clock at dinner time, and then I can do this. And it's like how important these numbers are, but yet on a spin of a coin they can change, because it's just trying to keep that control and trying to keep that.
And if your numbers are fickle in your head and you can change them whenever you want, then everybody else's are.
Yeah.
And we go along with what everybody else says about numbers. And literally, you are running around the planet, and anxiety doesn't exist. It only exists because of a story. And we make up stories. You can't find anything that isn't an OCD over a story that's been made up over numbers. Isn't that amazing? It's like over numbers, like OCD, have to tap that 10 times. Yeah? Everything, the majority of our life is run on a brainwash. Show me the boy age 7 or so. If we brainwash the child with numbers, and they're constantly, and judgments, they have a story behind each number, then you can be controlled. And that's exactly what. So you think you're not in a cult, you're in one. That's the way where culture comes from. How many cultures do you know have numbers? When you're born, you're not born to know time. Time is introduced to you. There's no time on the planet. We just see patterns and you put time to it. And that's just introduced to you. The sun doesn't move. The sun rises and says, it does not. It doesn't move. We do. The earth goes round. We see the sun. And then we go around and, we'll call that a day. Not called anything to nature. Nature is doing itself on a repeat all the time. And that's what we do. And so when you then look, if there was only you on the planet and you just had the things, the sky was your TV, and you only had that, you'd begin to see the pattern in it. And you can make up any story you want. Oh, well, that's because of that, and that's because of that. Oh, we've got global warming because of that. Oh, we've got that. And it's like, how do you know it's true? Well, somebody with a made-up story told me what labels. Well, science. Science makes numbers up. So it makes things up. And yet there are things that, when I say that, I don't have the scientific research to say, these people agree that numbers do that. I'm just asking you to look for yourself. Can you see an area of your life that doesn't have numbers?
No. And it's like, how much self-worth and how much
is based on a number?
Yeah, it's like being in the house at a certain amount of time. When you ask me, it's like, why does it make any difference? But you have to be in the house at this certain time every day, or you can't be out of the house at this time. And it's like, what difference does that make? And it's like, well, a lot, but none. It feels a lot.
Yes.
To a judgment, to a feeling attached to a story that I need to do
all
it.
Day, or you've been doing that all day, and it's like, well, what's wrong with that? Well, there's time. We've invented numbers. You're supposed to be doing stuff. You're supposed to be here on time. And so people shout at you because of a made-up number. Why aren't you here on time? And it's all about a made-up thing with a judgment and being able to tell you off, as I spoke about before. It's all about that. Let's see when nature comes in. So nature will come in. and you go back to being nature. When you go back to being nature is when you fall in love. When you fall in love and you meet somebody, that's when you have a slight essence of yourself. Yeah, because even that love is quite fickle. So that love can be, although it feels really true, and it feels because that person has just woke something up in me, yeah, that I lose a sense of time. So what happens when you fall in love? You lose a sense of time. When you speak to someone, oh my God, we've been doing this, and you've literally fallen, felt that love within yourself. Yeah. When you're speaking to them we spoke to the early hours. Time just flies past when we do it. There's no, because you go back to when you were born, there's no time. How many times do you go on holiday and you see like, have you seen the time? Now, what happens when you say, have you seen the time? You start to get judgments coming in. But when you're talking to someone freely, the weather's still warm, it's still nice, you're relaxed, you're back to your relaxed self, and you speak to people all night. You go, we best get to bed, look at the time. Because then the government comes in, and that is like a slave and an animal that we enslave by the thing in its mouth and the collar and chain around its neck. And that our slave owner invented time as an invisible collar around our necks, and we are slaves to it. And we believe and we see what we choose to see, or what is chosen. So what we choose to see is based on what our slave owner told us to see.
Because if you said to me, right, tomorrow you can do whatever you want, you can do anything, my first thing would be, how am I going to burn those calories, that number that I need to do, and how can I do it quickest intermittently? And then once I've done that, I can then think about doing something else, or doing something I want, or doing something nice.
Exactly. But majority of people, when you say to them, if you could have anything that you wanted from your life right now, in this moment, yeah, it could be dropped on your lap right now in this moment. Choose what you want. Many people go, I don't know. Or they want freedom. So what the freedom, but it's not the freedom. Well, I want X amount of money, and they go back to the material. I want numbers.
The numbers.
I want numbers. Do you see what I mean? And they're just numbers. Everything is just numbers with a made up story. When money goes into your bank, it's numbers. It's just a made up story. But that's how we're programmed. And that's how you can keep people doing exactly what you want them to do, by having a false concept. They're just like an hamster going round on a wheel when we introduce numbers. And that was a great invention. It was like when they did an advertisement, I think it may be in the 50s, and there was an advertisement came, and it was Freud's nephew, I think. So they were, knew all about the control and things like that long before psychotherapy and that came about. And so he had an amazing mind, and he used it to our detriment, really. And what he used in the advertising world, how can you tie people into the advertising world? And it was the tobacco companies. Well, years ago, women didn't smoke. It was deemed as crass that women don't smoke. And, the dividing of human beings, which is men and women. So we're all divided, because if you can divide, you can conquer. Do you see what I mean? So people have girl code, and instead of just being humans with each other, then we can separate ourselves, or, a man cave, and we can separate our humanness. So anyway, women didn't smoke. But the tobacco company, they were falling, by the wayside, because more and more people were getting cancer, and then they were saying it was due to the smoking. Well, at the beginning, everyone believed that smoking was good for you, because that's what they were told. Because many times when something isn't good for you, people will advocate, this is good for you. That's why you go to the health clinic or the health, because they have to tell you that this is good for you. Do you see what I mean? You don't have that labelled on an apple. Yeah, although you probably would need it labelled on an apple, the food's been that tempered with. But you don't have fruit with health on it. You know it's good for you instinctively. But when people say, when you have to put a label on something, there's something wrong with that. So when people do that, I've just lost my train of thought. What was I saying?
About I don't know. I've lost my train of thought now. You've said that.
I just told you it lost you. So when we're programmed with the, this is healthy for us. What happened then when that went out about people getting cancer, cigarettes aren't really good for you, is that women started in the workplace, they wanted equality and things like that. So women were burning bras and doing matches and things like that. So Freud's nephew came up with a great thing because the environment always affords an opportunity when there's a change. So it's like, okay. So what we'll do is we'll do advertisements and we'll put a woman smoking, and she's smoking to have equal rights. But she can now smoke. It's no longer crass to have equal rights to men. How many much do you think their sales went up? Massive numbers of women started smoking, and so their sales went up again. And that's what they do. Or the other one was, we'll have menthol cigarettes because now they're bad for you. Now these are healthier. Tell them they're healthier for you. So we'll now have menthol cigarettes, and then people think they're being healthier. And what do you think everybody does? They go out with these manipulations and they'll go along with it and they'll buy it. And that's how we're constantly programmed with manipulations, because we're being directed by these families.
Look at how many different varieties of bread there are now.
Yeah.
And it's on your scale. They even say it's on the scale of healthiness. If you want, you've got to pay for it though. The healthier it gets, the more expensive it gets.
And that's why we're deemed as cattle, because we're so asleep. Somebody could tell us anything. People say AI is more intelligent than we are. How do you know if you've never used your own intelligence? You're asleep. How do you know that's more intelligent than you are? Why would somebody make something more intelligent than them? It would render them useless. How could you make something more intelligent and say it's more intelligent than every other human being on the planet? No, it's not. It's just that you're telling them that because we'll believe anything we're told. And then somebody showed me and they went, look, it can design your room. Well, somebody had to program that into the computer first before it could spit that out to you. But people can send somebody out and go, yeah, I used to work for them and it's more intelligent and it's scary that, and people will believe it. They'll believe anything that you tell them, because we've got so lazy, so far away from our humanness. Our eyes aren't made for looking at all the things we're supposed to look at. They're not made for that.
And I think what gets me a bit annoyed is because I'm learning and I'm seeing these things now. When people don't take accountability or responsibilities for it, it really niggles me. It's like a lot of stuff people say about this compliance or the rules, like at work or in system. It's the system, it's the organisation, it's the system. And it's like, well, somebody created the system. Somebody implemented the system.
It's not the building doing it.
People keep following the system. People are doing the system,
and the system doesn't exist without people.
Yeah, but it's like, oh no, it's the system. It's just how things are. It's the system,
and that's our willful ignorance. That I'm not going to take responsibility for what I'm doing. I'm just going to do as I'm compelled to do. So we become, like robots to our own demise. We're agreeing to everybody around us. Yeah, you can poison me. Yeah, you can make money off me. You can do all that, and I'll do it as well. I'll go along with you, and I'll do it, and I'll let you do that. And when you upset my child, I'll let you do it.
Yeah,
I'll let you feel. When I eat, as I keep saying, Dr. Sebi says, well, you don't love yourself, you don't love the world. Whatever I eat, I'll poison my child with. I'll poison myself with. Yeah, I will do that. I will, because I've kind of, in my prison, I've got really nice cushions,
Yeah.
And I love my sofa. So yeah, that's what I'm going to do.
And it's like what I said before, when we look at it, realising what my comfort zone is very, very uncomfortable, very toxic and very harmful environment. But it's what I return to because it's comfort, but it's not, it's familiar.
It's the familiarity of it that's breeding contempt against it, because you keep going back to it. And so when you keep going back to that, it's like, I want another way out, but it's constantly at me every day. Do you see what I mean?
Can I have another way out, but still have
Still
this
do
bit
the
of
same?
it? Because I know when I first went into treatment for anorexia nervosa, it was like, well, we can offer you inpatient, outpatient, this, that, and other. And it's like, well, I want to get rid of anorexia, but I don't want to put any weight on.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, that is not going to happen. It's like when I was 4 stone, it's like, no, I don't want this anymore. I want to change, but I want to keep this bit that I like about being underweight. And it's like that bargaining, isn't it?
Well, it's like when, when even like we therapy sometimes when people have therapy for 50 minutes, and then the next 7 days, 23 and 23 hours and 10 minutes, they go back to being programmed. And then they say, why isn't this working? Well,
why aren't 6 sessions cured you?
Why that cured me? It's like, because you've just you keep doing your life in this. And so you want to change, but you're far too busy, because you've been orchestrated to be so busy in the world that you don't want to go inside of yourself, because it's kind of boring. I'm too busy for that. Do you see what I mean? So because I'm too busy, I haven't got time for me. I can only give this time elected for me, and the rest of the time I'm going to have to do the. Did you do that? No, I haven't got time. I was taught from the age, a very early age, not to have time for me. I just need to feed my ego and please that. And and that's what we do.
And have that get out clause, which is
and
try.
Have the get out clause and try.
I tried.
And so that's why it's like, well, these people are doing, why? Yeah, but I'm comfortable with it now. So that's why they say the Matrix wasn't a wasn't a made up film. It was actually a documentary. Shall we end there?
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome.